The Islam religion is over 1400 years old and began in the Arabian Peninsula. Those who practice Islam are referred to as Muslim. Muslim is the Arabic word for who submits to God. Muslims believe that there is only one true God. Although Muslims recognize other prophets such as Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, they believe that Muhammad was the last true prophet. It is believed that Muhammad was visited by the Archangel Gabriel. Through revelations, Muhammad developed the Quran. The Quran is considered the most holy of religious scriptures. The Quran teaches that there is only one true God, and our life goal is to reach heaven. By abiding by the 5 pillars of Islam, one hopes to reach heaven after death. Islam is the second largest religion in the world. There are nearly 1.7 billion practicing Muslims worldwide. Islam is the dominant religion in the Middle East, North Africa, the Horn of Africa, the Sahel, and some parts of Asia. The green on this map depicts areas in the world Islam is practiced. Darker shades represent areas with higher percentages of practicing Muslims. As you can see, Islam is practiced in almost every part of the world. In this country, Islam is the 4th largest faith practice. Muslims are one of the most racially diverse religious groups in the United States. This graph depicts the percentage of Muslims by race in the US. In addition, converts to the faith come from various ethnic and racial backgrounds. 64% of converts will be African American, 27% white, and 6% Hispanic. According to the Quran, everyone shall taste death, and only on the day of resurrection shall you be paid your wages in full. And whoever is removed away from the fire and admitted to paradise, this person is indeed successful. The life of this world is only the enjoyment of deception. Muslims believe that there is only one God, Allah, and that heaven is a place we meet Him. The Quran says, "Those who have said, 'Our Lord is Allah,' and then have become upright, the angels will descend upon them, saying, 'Do not fear nor be sad, but receive good news of the paradise which you have been promised. We are your protectors in this life and in the hereafter. Therein you shall have all that you desire. Therein you shall have all that you ask for.'" For Muslims, there is a life after death, and that is the heaven that they are promised. Reaching heaven and Allah is the ultimate goal of most Muslims. Because Muslims believe death is God's will, the transition to the afterlife is outlined by strict guidelines. Those who are present near a dying Muslim should do the following. They should be kind and patient. They should never leave them alone. They should give them hope, not allowing them to collapse out of pain or panic. They should prompt them very gently every now and again to say the Shahada, La Allah illa Allah, which means there is no God but Allah. Shortly after death, family or close friends should do the following. Close the eyes of the deceased. Bind lower jaw to head so it does not sag. Cover the deceased body completely with a clean sheet. Those present should make dua or beg to Allah to forgive the recently deceased. They should quickly prepare the body for washing, shrouding, and burial. They should pay his debt from his own money, or, if there is not enough, then from any family member.
Burial and body disposition. Burial should occur as soon as possible after death because it is believed that the soul cannot leave the body until it is put in the soil. Until that point, the dead body is thought to experience pain, which is why procedures such as embalming and autopsy are prohibited. There are no specific guidelines in the Quran about what speedy entails. In practice, most Muslims have interpreted this as a 24-hour rule. After the burial, the body should be left undisturbed. In Islamic laws, death is also considered a cause of ritual impurity of a Muslim's body. Therefore, a dead Muslim has to be washed ritually before the burial ceremony. Such a ritualistic bath for a dead Muslim is known as ghusl. Ghusl is considered an act of worship. It is an act of purifying oneself from the ritual impurity. Washing the corpse and dressing the body prior to the burial is an act of love and necessity in many religions. Among Islamic nations, preparation of the deceased is usually carried out in specially designed washing rooms at cemeteries. This preparation consists of two important operations, ghusl and shrouding. Ghusl, or baptizing, literally means washing and rinsing the body. First, head down to the neck, then the right side of the body from the shoulder down to the foot, and lastly, the left side of the body. Each part should be washed thoroughly in such a way that the water reaches the skin. Special care should be taken while washing the head. The hair should be combed so that water reaches the hair roots. While washing the right side of the body, some part of the left side must be washed too. And also, while washing the left side of the body, some of the right side must be washed. Prior to shrouding, cotton is placed on the genitals and in all orifices of the corpse to prevent any possible fluid discharge. In Islam, the corpse of a Muslim should be shrouded with 3 pieces of cotton fabric, referred to as the lame, shirt, and overall. The lame must cover the body from the belly button to the knees. The shirt must cover the shoulders, half of the legs, and be wrapped around the body, and the overall must cover the whole body, including flaps covering the head and feet. As a final step, upon closing the shirt and shroud, the overall fabric is banded and tied. In Islamic traditions, only male members of society are allowed to perform burial rituals. Graves are central to the construction of place attachments and are made meaningful by an awareness of time and genealogy. The ability to trace lineages and draw historical linkages between the past and the present underpins the power of place attachments. Being laid to rest among one's ancestors seems to function as a sign of respect and loyalty for communal history. The soil and everything in it are central to the sense of belonging. Funeral arrangements, visits to the grave, and continuing to pray for the deceased person's requital are carried out both individually and collectively. In addition, ceremonial gatherings on the 3rd, 10th, and 40th day following the death, as well as on all the Thursdays prior to the 40th day, are usual bereavement rites. Rituals following death also include recitation of the Quran and offering food to neighbors and the poor in the community, as it is believed to help the dead on his or her journey to the other world. While life is seen as a spiritual test and journey, it is also seen as being filled with blessings from God to be enjoyed. Eat and drink, but waste not by excess, for Allah loveth not the wasters. Say, who hath forbidden the beautiful gifts of Allah, which he hath produced for his servants, and the things clean and pure, which he hath provided for sustenance?
Muslims believe that life and death both come from Allah. Allah gives life and ends it, but also gives survivors the strength that they need to live through the death of their loved ones. This belief brings comfort to Muslims. Muslims are encouraged to support a bereaved person by visiting them, encouraging their faith, bringing them food, and reciting the Quran to them. The outward mourning period lasts 3 days, but the feelings of grief continue long after. A Muslim is allowed to cry or to express that they are grieving, but not in an extreme way. Widows are expected to have a longer mourning period of 4 months and 10 days, where they cannot interact with men that they could possibly marry, except in instances of extreme necessity, such as having to see a doctor. During the grieving period, it is important for the Muslim who is grieving to be encouraged to be patient in accepting what Allah has commanded in order to receive an award from Him. According to the Quran, it says, "Be sure, we shall test you with something of fear and hunger, some loss in goods, lives and the fruits of your toil, but give glad tidings to those who patiently persevere." who say, when afflicted with calamity, to Allah we belong and to Him is our return. Different types of loss are taken into account during the mourning process. Muslim parents whose children die and are said to have experienced a particularly hard loss, and the Muslim community has a stronger response of supporting these types of families. Advising them according to Islam and encouraging them in their faith is most important. The Prophet Muhammad stated that children who died before their parents would become forerunners and help protect their parents from hellfire. Traumatic deaths such as this are required to have a stronger sense of support from the community. In some groups of Muslims, giving eulogies, wailing, and tearing of clothes is accepted, but among the vast majority of the general Muslim population, these things are not prohibited. Sadness and grief can be expressed through a few words or crying, but extreme expressions of dissatisfaction with the will of Allah is not accepted, such as what was mentioned before, wailing, tearing of clothes, and eulogies. Muslims are encouraged to remember their loved ones and talk about the good memories that they have of them. Because of the beliefs of Islam that holds the afterlife in high regard, it does not make sense among Muslims to grieve so openly and deeply the loss of loved ones who have simply passed on to the next life.
Death and afterlife are central tenets of the Muslim faith. The Islamic vision of the afterlife is both spiritual and physical. Some Muslims believe that after a person dies, two black-faced, blue-eyed angels named Munkar and Nakir visit the grave and interrogate the deceased about his beliefs and deeds in life. Depending on the answers, the deceased is comforted or punished. After death, Allah, or God, judges a person's conduct. Islam teaches that there will be a day of judgment when all humans will be divided between the eternal destinations of paradise and hell. The last day has many names in the Quran, including the day of reckoning, the day of distress, the day of the gathering, the great announcement, and quite simply, the hour. God will resurrect the dead, and each person will be judged directly by Allah according to his or her intentions and deeds. Islam teaches that God is more merciful than he is wrathful. Each person's deeds will be weighed in a balance. One's eternal destination depends on balance of good to bad deeds in life. They are either granted admission to paradise, where they will enjoy spiritual and physical pleasures forever, or condemned to hell to suffer spiritual and physical torment for eternity. The Quran says that each person receives a book that contains an account of all of his or her deeds. If the book is placed in the right hand, the person is destined for eternal bliss. If the book is placed in the left hand, the person is destined for eternal hell. After death, the people will gather at the bridge called Sirat. Sirat spans the fires of hell. Those bound for paradise will find the crossing easy, but those bound for hell, the bridge will be as thin as a razor, and the condemned will fall into the flames. Hell, called Jahannam, is a horrifying inferno. The flames roar, scorching hot winds blow, and black smoke chokes the air. The skin of the suffering sinners is continually refreshed, so they will feel the pain of burning with no relief. If they try to flee, iron hooks drag them back. In contrast, paradise, or Jannah, is a blissful garden where the blessed are at peace and are content. The conversation is pleasant, the wine has no ill effects, and the food is endlessly abundant. The faithful dressed in silk robes relax on beautiful couches while servants tend to their every need. Choirs of angels sing in Arabic, and all the bounties of heaven are enjoyed endlessly. The underlying belief is that one should and can take comfort knowing that life and death are in accord with God's will, that the soul returns to God, and that the community is supportive of the bereaved.